You know what's really inconvenient? Having your morning coffee interrupted by the end of the world. That's exactly what happened to Commander Rex Davidson as he stared into his disappointingly lukewarm cup of standard-issue military coffee, watching the dark liquid ripple from the vibrations of distant explosions. "Well, isn't this just perfect?" he muttered, setting down the cup as another blast rattled the windows of the strategic command bunker. Humanity finally makes it to the stars, and instead of a welcome basket, we get an extinction-level event. Really puts that whole "we are not alone" debate into perspective, doesn't it? The massive holographic display dominating the center of the room showed the approaching alien fleet, if you could even call it a fleet. It looked more like someone had taken every sci-fi movie ever made, thrown them in a blender, and hit puree. There were ships shaped like crystalline snowflakes, others that resembled metallic cephalopods, and some that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics entirely. The only thing they had in common was that they were all really, really good at blowing stuff up. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "The Coalition's ships have breached our outer defense line. They're not even slowing down. Our best weapons might as well be spitballs." "Fantastic," Rex replied, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Any other good news?" "Actually, yes, sir. The Australians report that the aliens seem to be terrified of their wildlife. Apparently, a huntsman spider took down one of their scout drones." Rex couldn't help but laugh. Of course. Earth's most notorious continent was already causing problems for the invaders. Finally, those nightmare creatures are good for something. Make a note of that. Could be useful. The room shook again, harder this time. The holographic display flickered, showing the Coalition's forces advancing with mathematical precision. Their technology was beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. Ships that could bend space, weapons that ignored conventional shields, and communication systems that seemed to operate outside normal physics. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all major cities," another officer announced. "The Coalition's dropping some kind of, well, sir, they look like giant metal jellyfish. They're just floating there, scanning everything." "Because regular jellyfish weren't creepy enough," Rex grumbled. "What's next? Space squids? Cosmic crabs?" The giant metal jellyfish, as it turned out, were actually autonomous data collection units. They were systematically downloading and erasing every piece of human knowledge they could find. Databases, libraries, servers, all being wiped clean in seconds. It was like humanity was being deleted, one byte at a time. Emergency protocols were activated worldwide, but it was like trying to stop a tsunami with a paper umbrella. Military bases scrambled their jets, only to watch them swatted from the sky like flies. Nuclear deterrents were launched, only to mysteriously disappear mid-flight, as if the universe itself had hiccuped and forgotten they existed. Underground resistance networks began forming even as the first cities fell. Humanity, it seemed, wasn't going to go quietly into the night. We were going to go kicking, screaming, and probably posting memes about it until the very end. Rex watched as the last defensive line around the command center began to crumble. The Coalition's forces moved with the kind of efficiency that made ants look disorganized. They weren't just defeating humanity, they were systematically dismantling everything we'd ever built, everything we'd ever been. "Sir," Chen spoke up again, "we're receiving one last transmission from the European Command. They say—" She paused, a slight smile crossing her face. "They say the aliens tried to land in Finland, but the locals just said Perkele and kept going about their day. The aliens apparently found this very confusing." "God bless the Finns," Rex chuckled, finally finishing his now cold coffee. "Always knew they'd be the last ones standing. All right, people, let's make this interesting for our new friends. Initialize Protocol Omega Dark. If they want to erase humanity, let's give them something to remember us by." As the bunker's lights dimmed and emergency systems engaged, Rex couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end. After all, humanity had a peculiar habit of surviving things it really shouldn't. And if these aliens thought wiping out our civilization would be easy, well, they clearly hadn't read much Earth history. The last thing Rex saw before the bunker sealed itself was one of those metal jellyfish floating past the window, probably wondering why its database was suddenly full of cat videos and rickrolls. Sometimes, he thought, the best resistance starts with a good joke. Turns out, if you want to find humanity's best and brightest after an alien apocalypse, you should look underground. Literally. The resistance didn't just go underground metaphorically. We turned the planet's subway systems, mines, and natural cave networks into the universe's most annoying ant colony. Deep beneath the ruins of Montreal, in what used to be a Cold War bunker-turned-wine cellar, priorities right, Commander Rex Davidson was having a rather unusual meeting with his newly formed Resistance Council. "So, let me get this straight," he said, pinching the bridge of his nose. "We've discovered that the Coalition's advanced AI can be crashed by showing them pictures of optical illusions." Dr. Maya Patel, former quantum computing specialist and current chaos coordinator, grinned like a cat that had just discovered unlimited access to catnip. Not just any optical illusions, specifically those magic eye posters from the 90s. Their pattern recognition systems completely freeze up, trying to see the sailing ship or whatever's hidden in there. I mean, to be fair, those things gave humans headaches too. The Resistance had gathered an eclectic group of leaders. Besides Dr. Patel, there was Colonel Zhao Wei, who'd turned the abandoned CERN facility into a guerrilla warfare training ground. Physics is just applied violence, he liked to say. Then there was Professor André Baptiste, a former stage magician turned military strategist, who insisted that the best way to fight advanced aliens was with good old-fashioned sleight of hand. "Their technology may be advanced," André explained, flourishing his hands dramatically, "but their psychology is surprisingly simple. They can't comprehend why humans do things that serve no logical purpose. It breaks their probability matrices." The Resistance's tactics evolved in ways that would make any military historian either laugh or cry. Possibly both. They discovered that coalition forces could be disrupted by blasting certain frequencies of dubstep. "Finally, a use for it," Rex had commented. Their automated systems could be overwhelmed by synchronized groups performing the Macarena. And their advanced AI had a complete meltdown when exposed to Dadaist memes. But it wasn't all just chaos and confusion. Through careful observation and some creative borrowing of alien tech, they'd made some serious discoveries. Dr. Patel's team had captured one of those floating jellyfish units and found out it ran on an operating system that bore a suspicious resemblance to Windows Vista. "No wonder they're trying to wipe out humanity," she'd said. "They're still bitter about that launch." Colonel Zhao's teams had developed a particularly effective guerrilla tactic they called the flash mob protocol. It involved dozens of resistance fighters appearing seemingly out of nowhere, causing chaos with apparently random but carefully choreographed actions, then disappearing into hidden tunnels before the coalition could respond. "The best part," Zhao explained during one strategy session, "is that they can't tell the difference between actual resistance activities and humans just being humans. Every time a group of teenagers does something weird in the ruins, the coalition dispatches a full response team." They'd also discovered that the coalition had some rather amusing weaknesses. Their advanced sensors could be fooled by mirrors, André's contribution. Their quantum communications could be jammed by playing Never Gonna Give You Up on loop, which some argued was a war crime in itself. And their troops became hopelessly confused by human idioms. "Yesterday," Professor Baptiste reported, barely containing his laughter, "one of our teams told a coalition commander to take a long walk off a short pier. They spent 3 hours trying to calculate how that was physically possible." But perhaps the most valuable discovery came from an unexpected source. A group of resistance fighters hiding in the ruins of Tokyo found that the coalition's forces had a strange reaction to cats. Not fear exactly, but a kind of existential confusion. The aliens couldn't comprehend how humanity had convinced these small predators to live with us while remaining completely independent. "We've started Operation Whiskers," Rex announced to the council. "We're deploying cats near coalition bases. They just sit there, judging the aliens. The psychological impact is remarkable. Dr. Patel had also made progress in understanding the Coalition's technology. Their quantum computers are incredibly advanced, she explained, but they're also incredibly literal. They have no concept of abstract thinking. When we feed them paradoxes or philosophical questions, they actually start smoking. The resistance was growing stronger, more organized, and decidedly more weird with each passing day. Hidden bunkers were connected by a network of tunnels that resembled a drunk spider's web. Former shopping malls became training grounds where people learned to fight back using everything from advanced alien tech to rubber chickens, which surprisingly didn't show up on Coalition scanners. "We're not just surviving," Rex told his council, looking at the map of their growing underground network. "We're turning our greatest weakness, our complete unpredictability, into our greatest strength." The Coalition wanted to erase humanity, but they forgot one crucial thing. "What's that?" Colonel Zhao asked. "You can't logic your way out of human chaos." Rex smiled, watching as another report came in of Coalition forces being baffled by a group of resistance fighters who'd recreated an entire episode of a soap opera in the middle of a battlefield. "We're not just fighting back. We're teaching them why you should never, ever underestimate a species that invented both nuclear physics and cat videos." The resistance had formed, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Part military operation, part improv comedy troupe, and completely incomprehensible to their highly logical enemies. As Rex liked to say, if you can't beat them with strength, confuse them with style. If there's one thing humans excel at, besides creating chaos, it's trolling. And when Commander Rex Davidson proposed Operation Ghostlight, the resistance turned trolling into an art form. "Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between," Rex announced to his council, "welcome to the galaxy's greatest ghost story." The plan was brilliantly simple. Instead of trying to hide from the Coalition's advanced sensors, they would overwhelm them with false positives. Dr. Patel's team had cracked the code on creating phantom energy signatures that looked exactly like human activity. The result? The Coalition began seeing humans everywhere, especially in places where they couldn't possibly be. "My personal favorite," Dr. Patel shared during a briefing, "was when we convinced them there was a full-scale human disco party happening on Venus. They sent 3 battleships to investigate. The look on their faces when they realized they'd been chasing a hologram powered by a modified toaster? Priceless." Professor Baptiste's background in stage magic proved invaluable. He designed what they called ghost ships, essentially space-going versions of Pepper's Ghost Illusions. These phantom vessels would appear on Coalition scanners, engage in impossible maneuvers, and then vanish without a trace. "The best part," Baptiste explained, barely containing his glee, "is that they can't decide if we've developed advanced cloaking technology or if we've somehow mastered interdimensional travel. Both possibilities terrify them equally." The resistance began spreading legends among the alien ranks. They created myths about the hidden people who could walk through walls, the quantum warriors who existed in multiple places simultaneously, and the code whisperers who could crash entire systems with a single meme. None of these groups actually existed, of course, but the Coalition didn't know that. Colonel Zhao's teams took particular delight in staging elaborate haunting scenarios. They'd leave behind perfectly preserved rooms with still warm cups of coffee, but no signs of life. They'd plant evidence of human activities in physically impossible locations. Once they managed to convince a Coalition patrol that they'd somehow built a full McDonald's restaurant on the dark side of the moon. "Psychological warfare is about making the enemy question everything," Zhao explained. "And nothing questions everything quite like finding a fresh Big Mac in lunar orbit." The resistance even started its own urban legend distribution network. They called it Operation Cryptid, and it involved spreading increasingly bizarre stories about human capabilities. Some Coalition units became convinced that humans could communicate through interpretive dance. Others reported seeing entire human cities that appeared and disappeared like mirages. "We've got them so paranoid," Rex reported during one session, that yesterday a coalition battle group retreated from Berlin because someone left a rubber duck in the middle of a street. They spent 6 hours trying to determine if it was a new form of human superweapon. Dr. Patel's team developed what they called shadow colonies, elaborate holographic projections of human settlements that would appear on coalition scans but vanish when investigated. These phantom colonies would migrate across the planet's surface, leaving behind only mysterious messages written in Comic Sans, which, as it turned out, the Coalition's translation matrix couldn't process without having the AI equivalent of an aneurysm. "We've basically turned Earth into the galaxy's biggest haunted house," Dr. Patel said proudly. "And the Coalition are the teenagers who signed up for a spooky tour but are now crying in the corner." The psychological impact was devastating. Coalition forces began reporting increasing numbers of anomalous human activities. Some units refused to investigate certain areas because of rumored human quantum anomalies. Others developed elaborate theories about humans having evolved into beings of pure energy, all because someone figured out how to rig old LED strips to a car battery. The Resistance's masterpiece came when they managed to convince the Coalition that humans had developed the ability to upload their consciousness into cat videos. For 3 weeks, alien forces quarantined and analyzed every cat video they could find, searching for hidden human intelligence. They found none, of course, but they did develop a strange appreciation for feline acrobatics. "We're not just fighting a war anymore," Rex told his council as they watched Coalition ships chasing another phantom signal across the Atlantic. "We're writing the galaxy's greatest ghost story, and we're making them believe every word of it." The Coalition had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species ready for erasure. Instead, they found themselves jumping at shadows, questioning their sensors, and becoming increasingly convinced that humans were either technological wizards or reality-bending sorcerers. The truth, that we were mostly just really good at making stuff up and committing to the bit, was somehow even more terrifying to them. As Rex watched another Coalition patrol run away from what was essentially a cleverly placed disco ball and some speakers playing the X-Files theme, he couldn't help but smile. "You know," he mused, "for a species that wanted to erase human culture, they sure are getting one hell of an education in it. It started with a toaster. Well, technically it started with one of those floating jellyfish data collectors, but Dr. Maya Patel swears the breakthrough came when she tried to make toast with it. Look," she explained to a bewildered Commander Rex. "I was hungry, sleep-deprived, and the regular toaster was broken. How was I supposed to know that introducing Earthbread to alien quantum technology would create a localized temporal distortion?" The toast incident, as it came to be known, marked humanity's first real breakthrough in understanding Coalition technology. Turned out, their super-advanced quantum systems had never been exposed to the chaos of Earth-based organic matter. The resulting glitch taught the Resistance more about quantum mechanics in 5 minutes than humanity had learned in the previous century. "So you're telling me," Rex said, staring at the report, "that we can now replicate their quantum technology using kitchen appliances and sourdough starter?" "Better," Dr. Patel grinned. "We can improve it. Their systems are too rigid, too logical. But add a little human chaos into the mix." She gestured at what appeared to be a microwave with parts from 6 different gaming consoles attached to it. "This baby can now teleport objects across the planet, and it makes a mean grilled cheese sandwich." The first major victory came during what later became known as the Great Pacific Showdown. A Coalition fleet had cornered what they thought was a small group of Resistance vessels near the Mariana Trench. Instead, they found themselves facing a flotilla of fishing boats modified with quantum technology and powered by what Dr. Patel insisted on calling spicy math. Colonel Zhao's after-action report was a masterpiece of understatement. "Enemy forces encountered unexpected difficulty when our vessels began transforming into various sea creatures. Special mention to the crew who figured out how to make their boat temporarily become a giant holographic kraken. The psychological impact was significant." The Coalition's carefully organized battle formations fell apart when faced with ships that could be in multiple places at once, weapons that fired what appeared to be quantum-enhanced rubber chickens, and defense systems that protected vessels by temporarily shifting them into what Professor Baptiste called the dimension of dad jokes. But the real game-changer came when humanity's resistance tactics started spreading to other subjugated species across the galaxy. The Xeexthrax, a species of silicon-based mathematicians who had been under coalition control for centuries, took one look at human meme warfare and underwent what their historians would later call the Great Awakening of WTF. "We've received transmissions from 12 different alien resistance movements," Rex announced during a council meeting. "Apparently our technique of confusing the enemy with deliberately poorly drawn MS Paint diagrams has gone viral. The Coalition's trying to ban them, but they keep showing up on bathroom walls in their space stations." The Krylobians, a highly telepathic species, were particularly impressed by humanity's ability to generate nonsense thoughts specifically designed to give Coalition AI headaches. They began incorporating Earth-style abstract art into their resistance movements, leading to what Coalition reports nervously termed unauthorized outbreaks of interpretive dance warfare. Even the dreaded Coalition battleships weren't safe anymore. Dr. Patel's team had figured out how to hack their systems using what she called quantum cat videos, data packets that existed in a state of both sense and nonsense until observed, at which point they would collapse into either a cute kitten playing with yarn or a system-crashing paradox. "The best part," she explained, demonstrating their latest invention, "is that we've figured out how to make their own technology run on pure chaos. Watch this." She pointed to what looked like a Coalition sensor array that had been rebuilt using parts from an old disco ball and a game of Operation. "It now runs on vibes, literally. The worse the vibes, the better it works." Panic began spreading through Coalition ranks faster than a viral video of a puppy riding a Roomba. Their carefully structured military hierarchy didn't know how to handle enemies who responded to planetary bombardment by turning their defense shields into giant cosmic mood rings. Their tactical AI had a complete breakdown trying to predict the actions of humans who based their battle strategies on old movie quotes and internet memes. One particularly memorable engagement saw a Coalition commander demanding the Resistance's surrender, only to receive a transmission consisting entirely of Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up," performed by a quantum superposition of cats. 3 Coalition ships immediately defected, their crews citing an unprecedented appreciation for Earth culture. "We're not just beating them," Rex told his council, as they watched reports of Coalition forces retreating from yet another encounter with quantum-enhanced human weirdness. "We're making them question their entire existence. Yesterday, a Coalition philosopher asked whether their whole civilization might just be a simulation running on a really advanced version of The Sims." The Resistance's crowning achievement came when they managed to convert an entire Coalition battle fleet by introducing them to Earth music. The concept of sick beats proved so revolutionary to their quantum-based culture that they immediately declared independence and established the galaxy's first spacefaring DJ collective. Professor Baptiste summed it up perfectly during a strategy session. "They came to erase us, but instead we're teaching the galaxy how to vibe. And the best part? The Coalition's highest command is absolutely losing it because they can't figure out if this was our plan all along or if we're just making it up as we go." "Are we?" Rex asked. Baptiste just winked and pulled a quantum-enhanced rabbit out of what appeared to be a tear in space-time. "Does it matter?" The tables hadn't just turned. They'd done a backflip, spawned a meme, and started a galactic revolution. And somewhere in the cosmic background radiation, you could almost hear the sound of humanity laughing. The end of the Coalition came not with a bang, but with what historians would later call the greatest galactic Uno reverse card ever played. Commander Rex Davidson stood on the bridge of the HMS Chaotic Neutral, formerly a Coalition flagship, now powered by memes and running on what Dr. Patel called quantum shenanigans, watching as the last remnants of Coalition authority crumbled before the most powerful force in the universe, weaponized human culture. "Status report," he called out, trying not to laugh as Coalition headquarters attempted to process the fact that their entire defense grid had been reprogrammed to play Sandstorm by Darude on an infinite loop. "Sir?" Dr. Patel responded from her station, which looked like someone had merged a quantum supercomputer with a lava lamp. "Operation Culture Shock is at 100% efficiency. The Coalition's main AI has crashed after trying to understand why humans invented both nuclear fusion and hot dog eating contests." The final battle wasn't really a battle at all. While the Coalition had been preparing for some grand military showdown, humanity had been quietly uploading what they called the Ultimate Confusion Package into the galactic network. It was a combination of cat videos, dad jokes, conspiracy theories, and philosophical paradoxes, all quantum-enhanced for maximum impact. The result? The Coalition's entire command structure experienced what can only be described as an existential crisis. Their logical systems simply couldn't process the fact that the same species that created quantum-enhanced toasters also spent significant resources on competitive cheese rolling. "We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy," Colonel Zhao reported, grinning. "The Z-Sistthrax have declared their independence by releasing a galactic-wide TikTok challenge. The Krilobians are hosting an interpretive dance rebellion. And, sir, you're not going to believe this, but 3 entire sectors have unified under the banner of vibing against tyranny." The Coalition's final transmission was a masterpiece of unintentional comedy. "Error. Unable to compute humanity. Task failed successfully. Rebooting universe." In the power vacuum that followed, something beautiful and bizarre emerged. The galaxy, it turned out, had been desperately waiting for someone to show them that it was okay to be weird. Humanity, the species that the Coalition had tried to erase, became the architects of a new galactic order, one based on the revolutionary principle of just vibing. "You know what the ironic part is?" Rex mused during the first meeting of the new Galactic Council, which, at humanity's insistence, took place in what looked suspiciously like a cosmic coffee shop. "They tried to erase us because they thought we were too chaotic, too unpredictable. Now the entire galaxy is studying our methods." Indeed, Earth had become something of a cosmic university. Alien species came from across the universe to study the art of human chaos. There were seminars on meme theory, advanced courses in vibe management, and doctoral programs in applied nonsense. Dr. Patel's quantum physics department now offered classes like Schrödinger's meme, when reality is both serious and not, and advanced applications of toast in quantum mechanics. Professor Baptiste's School of Tactical Weirdness became the most prestigious military academy in 3 spiral arms. The Coalition's former archives, once dedicated to erasing human culture, now housed the galaxy's largest collection of Earth Internet history. Alien scholars spent years trying to understand the deeper meaning behind Keyboard Cat, only to discover that sometimes things are funny precisely because they don't have a deeper meaning. "We've become exactly what they feared," Rex noted, watching a group of ZX-Thrax students attempting to recreate human TikTok dances. "A force of chaos spreading across the galaxy. The difference is, now everyone's in on the joke." The final irony came when the remnants of the Coalition, now reformed and considerably more chill, officially classified humanity as too weird to erase in their historical archives. It was the highest honor they could bestow, even if they still didn't fully understand why humans found it hilarious. As Rex looked out at the transformed galaxy, where quantum physics merged with cat videos, where battleships ran on vibes, and where entire civilizations communicated through a complex language of memes and dance moves, he couldn't help but smile. "They wanted to erase us," he said to no one in particular, "but instead, we taught the galaxy how to laugh." And somewhere, in what used to be Coalition headquarters, a quantum-enhanced toaster continued to create temporal distortions every time someone tried to make breakfast. A perfect monument to humanity's legacy of turning confusion into revolution.